Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today we're going to be diving into some pretty thought-provoking stuff from Stephen Johnson and his presentation at the Freedom Outpost.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
He really kind of challenges us to look at faith, especially in the context of the church, with fresh eyes.
Ugh,
You know what I mean?
yeah, I can see that.
So we're going to be breaking down his concept of disruptive DNA, and
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
that's a really good one.
Yeah, what is that all about?
Yeah, what is that and why should we even care?
Well, let's jump right in.
Yeah, let's jump in. So Johnson, he kicks things off with this analogy of new wine and old wineskins.
Right, classic analogy, right?
It is. It's
Yeah.
classic, but it's like he uses it in a way to show the tension between tradition and innovation in faith.
Yeah, I think he's getting at this idea that, God loves the old forms of church, but he's always doing something new.
Yeah.
And we need fresh approaches.
Absolutely. It's
Right.
like we can't just throw out the old ways altogether, but our concept of faith needs to be flexible enough to hold what God's doing in the here and now.
You got it. And I really love how he compares this whole process to like an aircraft carrier.
Oh, yeah.
You, the listener, you're like a fighter pilot landing to refuel and re-equip for your mission.
Such a powerful image.
It is. It speaks to the active nature of faith, wouldn't you say?
100%. It's not just about showing up on Sundays, right?
Right.
It's about being ready to go out there and engage the world around us.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of engagement, Johnson brings up Gideon's army.
Okay, yeah.
You remember the 300 warriors?
I do, yeah.
He reminds us that not everyone's called to every fight.
Right.
Finding your place in God's bigger plan is key.
It's so true. It's so easy to compare ourselves to others,
Right.
but it's about figuring out your own strengths
Yeah.
and how you can contribute best.
Absolutely. Now, Johnson also introduces this concept of spiritual DNA.
Yes. Such a fascinating idea.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
This idea that we inherit certain spiritual traits from our families, our upbringing, and our church backgrounds.
Right. It shapes how we view faith. But he's not saying it's set in stone, is he?
No, he's not. He argues that it can be influenced by powerful encounters with God, both good and bad.
Oh, wow. So it can evolve and change over time as we grow and learn.
Exactly. And this is where things get even more interesting. He then dives into 3 different church styles.
Ooh, okay. I like where this is going.
The word-focused, the spirit-led, and the traditional. And he gives some really relatable examples.
I love how he's not afraid to point out the pros and cons of each one.
Right.
It makes you think about your own experiences and where you might be coming from.
Absolutely. And here's where that tension comes back into play. Remember what we were talking about before?
Mm.
He introduces 2 terms, tribe and troop, drawing on the original Greek words oikos and ecclesia to emphasize their distinct but, connected roles in faith.
So tribe is all about that close-knit community aspect.
Right. Belonging family. And troop is about action, mission, living out your faith.
Okay, so 2 sides of the same
Yeah,
coin.
exactly. He connects this to the 2 commissions Jesus gives in the Bible, the Mark 16 commission, to preach the gospel that aligns with the tribe, that building of relationships, sharing faith one-on-one.
And then the Matthew 28th commission to make disciples of all nations, that's more troop, right? That outward focus.
Exactly. And get this. To illustrate this point, he paints a picture of Jesus riding 2 animals.
Whoa, hold on, 2 animals at once.
Not at the same time, but the donkey and the war horse.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
The donkey represents humility, the arrival of salvation, fitting with the tribe focus on comfort and connection.
Right. And the war horse symbolizes power and judgment, more aligned with that call to action.
You got it. It's such a brilliant way to show that these seemingly opposite aspects of Jesus's nature and mission are both necessary for a fully lived out faith.
It's like they balance each other out.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So we've got these 2 powerful forces, tribe and troop. It sounds like Johnson's saying we need both to truly live out our faith. But how do we balance those sometimes competing poles?
That's a great question. And that's where his concept of gravity comes in.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
This is what I find so insightful. He argues that every church culture has this kind of invisible gravitational pull shaped by its traditions, its language, even how people dress.
It's like those unspoken expectations can really influence how we express our faith, sometimes without us realizing it.
Exactly. And he asks this pointed question. Have you ever felt pressured to conform in your church or faith community?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Maybe in how you dress, the words you use, how you share your faith. That's the gravity he's talking about.
Wow, that makes you think, Are we seeking genuine connection and growth, or are we just trying to fit in?
And that's where Johnson's message gets really personal. He challenges us to examine the gravity of our own spiritual atmosphere. Is it pushing us to be more like Christ or just keeping us comfortable?
It's like, are we being challenged or just coddled?
It's adulating.
He even shares this story about walking into a maximum security prison and feeling more comfortable there than in some church settings.
Yeah, that one kind of threw me for a loop at first.
Right, right. Sounds shocking. But he's pointing out that sometimes there's more authenticity in unexpected places.
Yeah, he's highlighting the danger of what he calls Christianese.
Ah, that insider language that can make faith feel exclusive.
You got it.
So it's like he's saying true freedom in faith comes from being real rather than conforming to pressures.
Absolutely. So how do we navigate this tension between tribe and troop, between belonging and mission in a way that's both authentic and impactful?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question right there.
It is, and Johnson reminds us that these aren't meant to be separate things in our faith. We need to hold both in tension.
I see. So we need to be grounded in relationship and community, but also ready to take action.
Exactly. He gives this example of a ministry leader who struggled to mobilize his people because he was so focused on just meeting their needs. It created this culture of consumers instead of contributors.
Oh, no.
It became more like a hospital than a launching pad for mission.
Interesting. It's not that caring for people is bad, but it's about balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to tend to our own wounds, but also recognize that call to be agents of healing and transformation in the world.
Powerful stuff.
Oh.
So how do we find that balance?
Well, he encourages us to ask ourselves some tough questions. What kind of atmosphere do we bring into a room?
That's a good one. What are we bringing to the table?
Are we bringing hope, encouragement, willingness to engage?
Or are we bringing negativity and judgment?
Right. He challenges us to be honest about our struggles, but also willing to share our stories and connect authentically.
It's about being real with each other.
Exactly. He talks about asking questions, listening deeply, truly investing in relationships.
It sounds like it's more about being present than having all the answers.
You know, he even uses an example from his time in real estate.
Okay.
He said he learned to connect with people by being interested in their stories.
It's so simple but so powerful.
It is. It's a reminder that genuine connection doesn't require fancy techniques, just curiosity and a willingness to listen.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the troop aspect, that outward-focused mission, Johnson reminds us to stay connected to the bigger story.
Right. He asks, how do you pray?
That is a good question. Are we only praying for ourselves in our little bubble?
Right. Or are we praying for our city, for our leaders, for those far beyond our own circle? He challenges us to expand our prayer horizons and see ourselves as part of God's plan to redeem and restore the world.
It's like we're all connected in this bigger story.
Exactly. And it's not just about praying, it's about taking action. He asks, how are you helping others in their fight?
Wow, that really hits home. Are we supporting our fellow troops?
Are we offering encouragement, practical help, a listening ear? Are we willing to stand with them in the trenches?
He's reminding us that we're not in this alone. We're part of something bigger.
And then he throws in this powerful question. Are you willing to ask for help when you need it?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's so easy to pretend we have it all together.
It is. But true strength comes from vulnerability.
He's encouraging us to admit when we're struggling and lean on each other for support.
Exactly. Like those fighter pilots returning to the aircraft carrier, battered and bruised, but ready to be repaired and sent back out on the mission.
It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
And he reminds us that we each have a unique role to play in that mission.
Right. We're not all pilots, but we all have a vital contribution. Whether it's providing support, praying for those on the front lines, or just being a source of encouragement, it all matters.
Because the power comes from everyone working together.
And here's the kicker. Johnson reminds us that the carrier's presence alone can shift the atmosphere of an entire region.
Whoa, that's powerful.
Just by showing up, by living out our faith authentically and courageously, we have the potential to make a huge impact on the world around us.